Hey guys, this is Jeremy, and today we're going to be talking about communications. And specifically, we're going to be talking about the radio systems. We're going to be talking about simplex, half-duplex, full-duplex, multiplex systems, and we're also going to be talking about a repeater as well, and where they all fit into how we operate on a daily basis. Now, one of the most important things is that we have every radio system is going to have a transmitter and a receiver. Now, a transmitter and receiver, the way that they work is a transmitter sends things out. So a transmitter is always going to be transmitting something out. And a receiver is just something that receives that message. So a transmitter cannot receive and a receiver cannot transmit. So you can think about this like the PA intercom at a grocery store. If you have somebody that sends out a message over the intercom, well, the intercom's the receiver, and the microphone that they speak in, that's going to be the transmitter, and so it's sending all that information out so we can hear it. Now, if you have a half duplex system, you have a transmitter and a receiver on both sides. And so this is going to be just like a walkie-talkie type deal. So if we have somebody over here on side A that's trying to send something to somebody on side B, what happens is they are going to be able to communicate freely to each other, right? But only one at a time. So if you ever got walkie-talkies growing up, or you've played with walkie-talkies, you know that you can send out a message, and if anybody is sending a message on that walkie-talkie, you're not able to click to start sending your message because it just doesn't go through. And that's because it's essentially operating off of the same frequency. And so what happens is if somebody over here on side A, they're sending this message over here to side B, if at any point they try to communicate with each other at the same time, they X each other out, and neither person is going to end up receiving that message. And that's not necessarily going to be the best way to communicate. Now, if you end up with if you have a full duplex system, this is going to be a system that has a transmitter and receiver on both sides. Okay, and so you have somebody over here on side A who's want to send something over here to somebody on side B. Now, what happens is this transmitter is going to be sending to this receiver on a signal. This receiver, or this transmitter over here, is going to be sending a message over here to this receiver. And they're both going to be working at the same time. So this is going to be an example of how cell phones work. And so half duplex is going to be the walkie-talkies. That's probably supposed to be a Y. Walkie-talkies, and then you have the simplex, and that's going to be the PA system. Okay, so just to recap, simplex, you have the transmitters and then you have receivers. A transmitter cannot receive and a receiver cannot transmit. So whenever you have something that has both a transmitter and a receiver at the same time in it, that's whenever we get walkie-talkies. You're still able to communicate with each other, but only one at a time, and that is a half duplex system. A full duplex system, that's similar to our telephones because we are able to talk and listen at the exact same time. Now, whenever it comes to the multiplex systems, this is whenever we're going to be sending information. So if you were to use your cardiac monitor and you were to try to send out your 12 lead or your vital signs or your ECG that you get from your patient and try to send it up to the hospital, you are using a multiplex system. And so essentially what this is allowing us to do is it's just allowing us to send a lot of information over different signals. If we are going to be using video conferences, that's also going to be on a multiplex system, because there are some places that do have the ability to consult with teleneurology and the ER physicians through a video chat type deal. So and that's an important concept to kind of understand. And this right here, this multiplex system, transmitting ECGs and transmitting your vital signs and everything, sending that over to a physician, that is going to be an example of, it's also going to be online medical control. Because you are consulting somebody over a radio. And so every single aspect of this, the simplex, half duplex, full duplex, it doesn't matter how you're communicating with somebody. If you're communicating with somebody or a physician over a radio, telephone, anything, that is going to be an example of online medical control. Now, to understand a repeater, you have to know that they're working on frequencies, and essentially they act as an extension. So if I have somebody who is, we're going to put them over here on side B. So if I have somebody who's over here, I have somebody on side A who's wanting to send something to person on side B. Well, they are literally they are 30 miles apart. And on top of that, they also have a mountain between the two of them. And this has prevented a direct line of sight. And the radios, they typically work off of a direct line of sight of some type. So if I have somebody who's in a valley of a mountain, they're going to have a harder time communicating with somebody. So if you watch any war movies and they're having a hard time communicating with somebody, they'll a lot of times they will go up to the top of the mountain to be able to communicate with whoever it is they need to communicate with. This is the exact same thing if you're going camping with friends or anything, because you have to be able to have a direct line of sight with the way these systems work. Now, if you happen to have a tower that's on top of said mountain, and so it's sending out the signal, alright, so what you wind up with is you have somebody who's going from transmitter receiver A. They are going to be sending a message to this receiver on this input frequency. Okay, and so the input frequency is transmitting to this receiver on a specific frequency. Now, what you also have is whenever this repeater sends it back out and is sending it over here to the person over here on the B, this is going to be the output frequency. So what you wind up with is whenever person B tries to send their message, that's going to be able to go in. Again, this is going to be the input. And then this one right here, whenever it sends that message back to person A, it's going to be on the output frequency. Alright, and that's how they communicate. And so this is important, especially if this person is 15 miles from this repeater, and then this person is another 15 miles. This is allowing for communication over greater distances while working with the obstacles that we have. And so that's important, and it's a way that we communicate, and this is going to allow you as a provider, your service that you work for, it's going to allow you to be able to cover a larger area. So if you do cover a broad area, you may be hijacking, or not hijacking, but you may be utilizing a repeater or a tower of some sort for your radio system. And this is how that's all working. So I hope that with this video you were able to understand a little bit more about how transmitter receivers work, simplex, duplex systems, the multiplex, and especially how the repeater systems work, especially if you have an obstruction. So until next time, this was communications.